What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All-22 NFL Show, the official channel of the All-22 Fantasy Football platform, the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, including offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com. Ray, we do have a pretty big announcement to make today, and instead of waiting to the end of the episode, we're going to start it off at the beginning of the episode. We have 16-team leagues available now.
Yeah, it took a long time, a lot of work, but we have 16 team leagues available. Get in now. We actually already have a couple starting up. We have a 16 team draft coming up here in a couple days, and you have pick 1 overall. So you have a nice wait between pick 1 and pick 32. I'm so thrilled for you, dude. You must be so excited to have the first overall pick in a 16 team all-22 draft.
I mean, it's only right? The guy that's won the most championships gets to choose 1 overall. I get why they did that. It makes sense to me too. But it's an honor, it's a responsibility. I hope I make the right choice, but to be honest, I don't think there's a wrong choice. I think there's a bunch of guys available that I'm going to love taking. It really is unfortunate for me because you and Bobby, I think both are towards the end, right? Like you guys have like 12 and
pick 12, which is that nice sweet spot where if you're going to miss out on a QB1 in all 22, but you might be able to get a Myles Garrett, a Dexter Lawrence, a Jalen Carter, a defensive stalwart, and then you don't have that long of a wait on the return there. So lots of new draft strategy there because now I think with 16 team leagues, we've talked about in previous episodes how scarcity plays such a part in draft strategy in all 22. There aren't many good guards. You're not drafting a guard in the second round, but there aren't many good guards. There aren't many good defensive interior players. So if you're in a spot where you missed out on the top, say, 8 quarterbacks, 9 quarterbacks in all 22 in the league, and you have a chance now, you don't want to reach on a tier 3 type of player, you can go ahead and snag a difference maker on the defensive line and kind of, just make that the identity of your team is start building a nice, strong defensive line and really get sort of a leg up on the competition there with some of those scarce positions where there aren't a lot of good players. You roll into every week with Jalen Carter or Dexter Lawrence as one of your defensive interior guys. You have a head start on that defensive scoring. So a lot more comes into play there. You got to pay attention to the scarce positions. Listen to, I think a couple episodes ago, where we really broke that down. But yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. And some of these players we're going to talk about today, I feel like, kind of fit into that mold where we'll talk about their ADP and, maybe you treat them a bit differently depending on the leagues that you're in and whether the extensions for them are a good thing or maybe it's time to sell high.
I'm going to talk about who they should pick at that pick, right? So pick 1, if you're talking about Patrick Mahomes, we've talked about how Patrick Mahomes is the guy, right? He should be the no-brain guy. He's turning 30 and hasn't graded over 90 in 3 years. But Josh Allen is a year younger and has graded over a 90 the past 3 years consecutively. Lamar Jackson is under 30 and has graded over 90, I think, the past 2 years consecutively. Joe Burrow is under 30 and has graded over 90, I think, last year. The point of the game is to win the game. Like, I understand Patrick Mahomes in our minds is the best player, but if you're playing a game, I don't know, dude. I get a little nervous.
They're going to figure out offensive tackle. Mahomes is going to be back. Rashee Rice is going to spend a little time in jail, but he's going to be fine. Nah, don't overthink it.
All right, let's jump into the point of this episode, which is we are going to talk about some of the big contracts that got signed since we last spoke. Ray and I did a whole episode about our weighted system, right, which is now closed. It's not going to be updated again until next year. But these big contracts come into play literally within the week after we've had that conversation. So next year, these are guys that will be affecting that weight or at least are close to. So they're worth mentioning. Why don't we start it off with a big one, right? Trey Smith becomes the highest paid guard by annual salary at $23.5 million a year. He is now number 1. There was questions with the Chiefs whether or not they could bring him back realistically, right? Not only did they bring him back, they made him the highest paid guard in football. His deal is 4 years, $94 million, again, making him the highest paid guard in the NFL. Trey Smith, we both have said it. He is an incredible football player. Guard is an extremely limited position. And because of that, I think when teams think that they have that guy, they have no problem paying them now, which is really cool and really interesting. And I kind of hope it continues because, again, we were all 22. We were about offensive linemen having a role in this world of marketing opportunities and being a part of fantasy football. Pay these damn men, right? Pay Trey Smith, pay Landon Dickerson. I love to see it. But Trey Smith, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Trey Smith he's just so steady. So he's one of my original guys. I drafted him back when our all 22 fantasy football platform was just on an Excel spreadsheet. We had a rookie draft, and I took Trey Smith despite him being a 6th-round pick. I was trying to tell whoever would listen that this is going to be a dude. And he is. He's been very steady. I think overall he was 11th overall in the league grade wise, and did have his highest graded season, 78.8 overall offensive grade in 2024 at over 1,100 snaps. At no point in no season in his career has he had below a 71.5. So this guy is just super steady, high floor and high ceiling type of player. So I'm a big fan. There's not much to poke holes at in his game. I mean, the obvious thing, the reason he fell in the draft was the sort of health concern, blood clot issue, which doesn't seem to be, or hasn't seemed to be, much of an issue so far in the league. And his performance is only getting better. He's entering his prime. He's 26 years old at a position that has a relatively long lifespan compared to other positions in the NFL. So you add all that up at a position that doesn't have a lot of high quality players after the top 8 or so. There really is a big fall off and a really large tier of just decent to pretty good type of players after that. There's no reason that you should be shying away from Trey Smith. I think he's currently the 3rd guard off the board. ADP right now is just about 80th overall. So think about 7th-round pick, actually above Quentin Nelson, one of our original guys. But again, Trey Smith just turned 26 years old. Quentin Nelson almost 30. So the age difference matters there quite a bit. Yeah, he's good. He's young. He's dependable. He's solid. I think that Chiefs offensive line as a whole is getting a lot better, or will get a lot better over the next couple seasons. So, yeah, I fail to see the downside here. Boy, I don't want to jinx him, but yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I was like, please shut up. But yeah, Trey Smith, Josh Simmons, Creed Humphrey. I mean, it's awesome. Like that Chiefs offensive line is essentially awesome. And they really know how to build a team, right? The best teams know how to build teams. Prove that you could do it. Go sign up at all22.com. But the next guy I want to talk about is the guy that was my guy, right? When that draft happened, I was the biggest Sauce Gardner fan out there. Thought he was going to come into the league and be a big time player, and he kind of proved that in spades. But enough fluffing ourselves here. Sauce Gardner can do it himself. Like his numbers just absolutely 87.9 as a rookie, 88.6 in his second year, and then a down year last year with a 70.2. But I don't think anybody's going into this going, yeah, he kind of fell off, right? Like, I just don't think that's a realistic conversation. There were so many issues with the Jets team last year. There was coaching changes. Morale was low. You lose your quarterback week 1 of the season. Like, that was actually 2 years ago, but you lose your quarterback, you lose the locker room, you lose the team. It wasn't a great environment. I have no qualms about paying Sauce Gardner big money. And actually, last time we talked, we had mentioned Sauce Gardner being a guy that was likely going to get paid. I was off, right? I had said that maybe he was going to push that $35 million a year mark. He ends up at $30.1 million a year, which is $100,000 more a year. Talk about being petty, but $100,000 more a year than Derek Stingley Jr. in terms of average annual salary. But it's really when you look at the total value of his deal where you see it kind of the difference maker that the Jets must think Sauce Gardner is. And I agree, right? Giving him $120.4 million in 4 years. The next highest contract is JC Horn at 4 years, $100 million, and Denzel Ward, 5 years, $100.5 million. So $20 million on his overall salary more than any other cornerback in the NFL. To me, that, again, it shows the confidence that they have in him. He's just, a phenomenal player, and he's a guy that I'm going to continue to root for.
Yeah. Well, I think Derek Stingley is enjoying that no income tax in Texas. All right. So don't come at my guy, Derek Stingley. But you mentioned the quote unquote down year for Sauce Gardner in 2024. And yeah, relative to his first couple of years in the league, it was. However, let's talk about Sauce Gardner's down year. 17th overall in coverage grade in 2024. He gave up the second most yards per reception in the NFL among qualifying cornerbacks. So that's where the down year really sort of, comes to a head and is reflected in his grade. But he had the 5th lowest completion percentage against at 53.2 among all corners in the NFL. So that tells me that down to down, he's still covering at a very high level. It's just that when he did get beat, it was for bigger plays than usual, which to me is just basically the highlight of when we talk about cornerback being a high variance position and being so volatile. That's why, because there's not much of a difference between giving up a comeback route for 8 yards and giving up a comeback catch, but then missing a tackle, and now you gave up an additional 15 yards after the catch there, and that really was what would bring down your grade. And he did have his lowest tackling grade of his career last year. So it's not so much that the coverage itself on a consistent basis got worse. It's just that he was a bit more leaky and as in terms of a tackler, maybe giving up some of those additional yards after the catch than he was previously. And that's going to happen at cornerback. So that's pretty much the story of 2024. You give up a catch, maybe miss tackle, you get some extra yak. That brings down your grade. But overall, you're still on a down-to-down basis, not really getting beat in coverage. So again, the 5th lowest reception percentage given up in the entire league. So if a 73.1 coverage grade, good for 17th overall in the league among all cornerbacks, is Sauce Gardner's quote-unquote floor or down year, then yeah, I'm going to take that all day. That just speaks to what we're looking for at a position like cornerback, which is high floor and then obvious high ceiling with 90 plus coverage grades in 2022 and 2023. So again, Gardner just kind of cleans that up a little bit and goes back to sort of his norm that we've come to expect from him. And he's yet again a top 3, if not better, cornerback in the league on a year-to-year basis. So again, I think you should be very encouraged by the metrics in Gardner's quote unquote down year in 2024. He's still going to be phenomenal for you moving forward in all 22 and for the Jets as well in the NFL.
And you think about it, right? And a lot of the knock on Sauce, whether or not he is the number 1 corner in the NFL or not, is that he isn't necessarily a huge turnover guy, right? He doesn't always make turnover-worthy plays. So what you talked about are things that maybe brought his grade down this year, maybe kind of goes towards the fact that maybe he was trying to make more turnovers, right? And maybe that's part of the reason why he was taking more risks, which led to maybe some additional yards after catch, because maybe he wasn't in the best position to maybe stop an additional yard gain, but instead, putting himself in more of a position to make a turnover. So interesting thing to follow, right? See if it becomes a trend. But let's stay on the Jets, because rookie of the year on defense was Sauce Gardner. Rookie of the year on offense was Garrett Wilson. They paid Garrett Wilson too this week. They paid their 2 guys this week. Garrett Wilson getting $32.5 million a year. That is good for 5th among receivers, and $130 million overall, which is also good for 5th at receiver. It's tied for 5th. There's
alarm, Chris.
Phone. Yeah. So, again, a little bit different than Sauce here, right? Because Garrett Wilson, obviously he's not being the highest paid receiver in the NFL, but 5th is still pretty good. To me, receiver is a very deep position in the NFL. I honestly don't think that's a debate, right? There are a lot of good receivers in the NFL today. And a lot of times, you might be able to go trade for a big time receiver. You might be able to draft a big time receiver later in the draft, right? We saw last year, Brian Thomas Jr. and Ladd McConkey and those guys going later in the draft. Rashee Rice for the Chiefs is becoming a big time receiver and was taken in the 2nd round. So T. Higgins, right? There are plenty of examples of guys like that step up and becomes huge, stallmates in the NFL. I'm not sure you had to pay Garrett Wilson that kind of money. And reason being, right, I'm looking at his numbers. He is, after 3 years in the NFL, this past season, he finished 26th in overall grading with a 79.3 receiving grade. That was the 2nd highest of his career. His rookie year was an 82.7. He had 7 touchdown catches, 1,104 yards. It's his 3rd year in a row over 1,000 receiving yards, but he's never eclipsed 1,200 yards, right? He's never eclipsed 1,110 yards. So is this more of a, who's the receiver on Brandon Cooks, right? Is this more of a Brandon Cooks type receiver than a team's true number 1 guy? I think that's a legitimate question that now we should ask about Garrett Wilson. And if you're the Jets, I think, you're happy you paid him. You want him to be happy. You want him to be there. But in terms of like team building and can you get this team to be a winning team, I'm not necessarily sure this is the best move to push you in that direction, personally.
Damn, you came out a lot hotter than I thought you would. So, okay. Garrett Wilson or Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson or T. Higgins?
T. Higgins.
Garrett Wilson or Ladd McConkey?
Ladd McConkey.
Garrett Wilson or Devontae Smith?
Devontae Smith.
Damn. Okay, so 1 out of 4. So, okay. Garrett Wilson is currently, his ADP in all 22 is 60th overall, and that's wide receiver 15. I named the 2 receivers getting taken earlier than him, and then the 2 immediately getting taken after him, just to see where you're at. So I think relatively that range, but you might be even a little bit lower on him than the current ADP on the platform, which is fine. I looked a little bit closer, and I'm not sure. This can go one of 2 ways, which I know that in itself is such a cliche, but in looking at Garrett Wilson after this extension and trying to project ahead and move forward, right? We are currently recording on Thursday, the 24th. Justin Fields was carted off the field earlier in the day in practice, but apparently is fine. Just, I don't know why I feel like back in the day, they didn't bring out the cart nearly as much as they do nowadays in training camp. Like back in the day, you really had to be hurt to get carted off. And now I feel like these days it's like, you cramp up a little bit or you turn your ankle and next thing you know, you're on the cart. I don't like it. But in any event, Fields seems to be okay. So we're going to assume that Justin Fields is fine here. When averaging less than 10 targets per game last season, in those 11 games where he had less than 10 targets per game, Garrett Wilson had a 65.1 average grade. In the 6 games where he had 10 targets or more, his grade was 76.2. So could be that kind of guy that just needs that volume to get into the flow of games, and eventually you kind of keep feeding the beast. He makes that play that sort of then takes the game over. We all know sort of the Air Jordan or the Air Wilson catch in the end zone last season and kind of the spectacular plays that he can make on the fields. The question is, do they air it out like that with Justin Fields in New York? Yes, they have chemistry from, being at Ohio State together and being former teammates, but Justin Fields isn't really that type of quarterback. So are they going to be more run-oriented, or is Fields being more of a primary read type of quarterback in the pass game and then try to make something happen? If that's not there, is Wilson going to be that primary read and still get fed that large number of targets that he needs to cook before Fields kind of does things with his legs? Or are they just more run-oriented? I'm not sure. It can go either way there. I do think if they let Fields air it out a bit more, that could be good overall for Garrett Wilson, and that will sort of get him on the right side of the ledger, where I think that, wide receiver 15 ADP currently is sort of right there, right? He could kind of ascend into that top 12 and above, or it can kind of slide back into the early 20s, if not mid 20s overall among receivers in the league, behind, young guys like Ted McMillan. I didn't mention him. He's going a little bit after him as well, in comparison to ADP. So I'm not sure which way it's going to go, but I think we're at that sort of point, that inflection point with Garrett Wilson, where it can go one or two ways. I think we're going to learn a lot more, or know a lot more 12 months from now than we do here. And his draft position on average can, have a big swing either way.
What did you think of my Brandon Cooks comp?
I think that was mean. That was harsh. Garrett Wilson is better than Brandon Cooks.
Brandon Cooks was a good player.
He is good. 1,000 yards
like every year for like 7 years.
Yeah, he was tiny.
Before it was cool.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was always cool to have 1,000 yards before they made it, commonplace with 17 games. But no, Cook's very good. But
you just made
Cooks
my point for me. You just made my point for me.
Things that Wilson does. Cooks can't do the things that Wilson does. It's a wild assertion there.
Not anymore. All right, let's keep it rolling. The next player I am actually very excited to talk about, yes, actually, Bobby, is Zach Tom with the Packers, right? We're going to move back to the offensive line. Zach Tom with the Packers gets a 4-year, $88 million deal, and it is good for 10th in terms of annual salary at $22 million per year, which is which is in my mind where it should be, right? Like Zach Tom had a great year last year, 87.5, great, good for 4th overall at amongst tackles. That's, phenomenal. The year before, 77.8, year before that, 68.3. So this is a guy on the rise who's, getting under his feet, feeling good about himself, gets a deal that makes him a highly paid tackle. But it even goes to show you that if you don't have the draft pedigree of that first round pick, Zach Tom being a 4th round selection, sometimes like even if you perform as good as those guys, you're just not seen in the same light, right? But I think from a performance perspective, Zach Tom has been everything the Packers could have ever asked him to be, if not more. And again, okay, now he's paid 10th best among tackles, but 5 overall in terms of total salary, which is 4 years, $88 million. I'm happy as a Packer fan. I think he's been great. We need offensive linemen to step up and be as good as him. But this is a step in that direction.
Yeah, it's an absolute bargain. That's an absolute steal to get him at that price. So just looking again, so in 2024, 6th overall tackle among qualifying tackles based on number of snaps played, 3rd in run blocking and 11th in pass blocking. In 2023, he was 11th overall, 10th in run blocking, and 20th in pass blocking. He is steadily improving year after year. And now the Packers have him at a bargain contract-wise before he's even in his prime. And there's been some in recent years, some uncertainty and kind of shuffling around that Packers offensive line, really ever since Bakhtiari really succumbed to the constant injuries that plagued him later in his career. Ever since then, it's kind of been a revolving door, whether outside at tackle or at center. And just, it never seemed like the Packers were just sort of consistently on the right foot or just set and comfortable on the offensive line. But enter Zach Tom, who's just that sort of mitigating presence there. And to get him, while he's still on the ascension, on such a team-friendly deal in comparison to the rest of the marketplace is just phenomenal. So great for the Packers, great for you in all 22. There's a decent amount more of high upside type of tackles that I think we're high on in all 22 than at other positions like guard or center. But Zach Tom is right there with the rest of them. This isn't someone you can sort of wait on and snag later on in all 22. I think he's going like 5th overall among tackles at the position ADP wise. Yeah, behind Alt, Slater, Wirfs, Mailata, Sewell. So he's 6th among all tackles there, just 26 years old. I mean, this is a franchise type of player for you, and it's a phenomenal deal for the Packers. So yeah, thumbs up all around. Great move. Great job by the Packers.
Let's move to the defensive side of the ball. Let's look at edge rusher. 2 edge rushers got big paydays. One of them is a guy that's been around a while, right? And we know a lot about, and we know that he's great. The other one, slightly surprising, right? Slightly surprising, and not that he's a bad player, but let's just go into it, okay? So TJ Watt breaks the bank and gets $41 million a year. He is now the highest paid non-quarterback, right? I don't think anybody surpassed him yet. He is now the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL at $41 million a year, 123 total value, 3-year deal. So he doesn't have the highest overall salary. I think Nick Bosa is still the highest at edge with $170 million over 5 years, but $41 million a year, dude. Incredible value for him, but he deserves it, right? This is a guy that has a 92.2 grade last year. He's had 5 of his 9 years in the NFL over 90, and one of the other ones is in the 80s as well. We're talking about a guy with double-digit sacks almost every year of his career, right? Like with a 20 sack seasons, last year 12 sacks. Like we're talking about a guy that can get to the quarterback and get to the quarterback fast. I think he deserves the money. You obviously just have to start to worry about age, right? We've seen guys at the edge position kind of fall off that cliff, right? When you turn 30, when you turn 31, 32 years old, all of a sudden it kind of starts to, injuries start to pile up. And we saw it with his brother, JJ Watt, right? Where towards the end of the career, it was like, he was the best player in the NFL for a long time. And then all of a sudden it's like, oop, that's probably the end of it. So hopefully that's not the case for TJ Watt, and that doesn't happen anytime soon. And they get a lot of value out of this deal for the Steelers. And it's also, I think, a sign that the Steelers are kind of going for it, right? Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, paying TJ Watt. Like, this is a team that's saying, like, we have the infrastructure to win now. Let's go win. So I think that's a pretty interesting aspect of this deal as well.
If you say anything bad about TJ Watt, like, a lot of people just come out and yell at you online. Okay?
I don't think I did, though, right? Like, I think I kept it pretty positive.
No, you're okay. You're okay. I'm just saying. And I'm just going to say, I'm not necessarily saying anything bad about TJ Watt. I'm not saying anything bad.
No.
I really wish the Cowboys drafted Taco Charlton instead of TJ Watt. Can you believe that? Do you remember that? That happened.
I can
That's
believe that.
So listen, I'm not saying anything bad about TJ Watt. I'm not. He's a phenomenal player. And if you're under the age of 30, you can't go online and start type. You can't do that. No, you can't yell at me for this because you haven't turned 30. You know what it's like. Okay. Again, I'm not saying anything bad about TJ Watt. But pass rushing productivity, okay, a formula combining sacks, hits, and hurries relative to how often they rush the passer. In 2023, TJ Watt was 5th among all edge rushers in pass rush productivity, according to PFF. In 2024, he was 50th, okay? Still grading very well because he's got a lot of volume. He's making a lot of plays. I'm not saying anything bad about him. I'm just reading the statistic here. Okay. He was 50th in 2024. He was 5th in 2023. His 13.3% pass rush win rate, say that as fast as you can 5 times, was 28th among qualifying edge rushers in 2024. His pass rush win rate in 2023 was 13th. I'm not saying anything bad about TJ Watt. I'm just saying if something bad happens or his grading is not what it has been, maybe these 2 data points were telling us something. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying anything bad about TJ Watt. I'm not. I would never say anything bad about TJ Watt. I would have loved to have him in my franchise for the last decade. I'm just saying these are 2 data points that stuck out to me, and I wonder what they say about someone who's going to be 31 this coming fall. That's it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything bad about TJ Watt.
We're calling witness protection. We're going to make sure you never step foot in Pittsburgh. Because you kind of did. You kind of did.
We might be going there for the draft, but that's, yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. But no, I get what you're saying, and that's what I'm kind of agreeing with, right? Is like, I think when you're at that age and you start to see slight signs of decline, right? Even if they are slight, and even if you're still a great player after the decline, giving them that type of money might not give you the results that you expected to give, right? And that's a concern when you're paying a guy $41 million a year. But it is the next guy that really kind of surprised me, and that's George Karlaftis. So George Karlaftis becomes the 10th highest paid player at edge per year with $22 million. He actually got the same Zach Tom deal. So $22 million per year, 4 years, $88 million. The $88 million is good for 10th as well. So you're talking about a guy that's getting paid as one of the top 10 edge players in the NFL. Last year, according to PFF, 51.5 overall season grade. 51.5 is his tackling grade. 68.4 is his season grade last year. So average, right? Like you're talking about an average football player at that kind of range. 64 the year before.
Today. Goodness
52 gracious. The year before that. I'm just saying, like, I like George Karlaftis as much as the next guy. I think he's shown improvement, which I think is great. I also think he does what they need him to do, right? Which I think if you're the Chiefs and you're in this winning Super Bowl window, that's good enough. But 8 sacks, right? You're not talking about like crazy sack production. To me, I just don't know if he's a difference maker in a time in the NFL where I think there are a ton of edge rushers that can give you significant results. You know, I was talking to Bobby about the Giants the other day, and you know, like you look at their edge room now, and they have 3 guys that I think would be starters on most teams in the NFL, if not all of them. But they have a couple guys after that too that you kind of start to go, oh, like, is that guy better than George Karlaftis? Is you know, you look at the Jets, like Will McDonald, like guys like that are in that kind of range. Are you telling me that guys like that are going to start getting $88 million a year deals? Is that the football world we're living in right now? To me, I don't know. I don't really see that being the case, right? Like I'm looking at guys above him, Arden Key, some of these guys, man. I don't want to just go down this bad rabbit hole of like being super mean to George Karlaftis, because again, I think he's done a lot to improve himself, and he's doing the right things.
Well, he's improved every year. Grade-wise, he's improved every year. So to become an average football player, it's above average. 68 is above average. Relax.
64.
Pass rush 68. He's getting above average. So here's my thing with Karlaftis and the Chiefs. We just talked about TJ Watt. Chris Jones is getting older. And you said it, $22 million a year for 4 years. And TJ Watt just got what, 41 million per year? So you're not breaking the bank anymore for this type of deal for George Karlaftis. So to me, I think they view Karlaftis as a young, ascending player that's dependable, but he's not an anchor to a defensive line, at least not yet. And I'm not sure he's that type of archetype of player where he can be the superstar on a defensive line and really anchor a defense that's going to take you far. But if the Chiefs are preparing for life after Chris Jones in a couple years, and you can lock up a young player who is you feel is going to be good and ascending, and you don't have to worry about one of your edge spots for a handful of years, a half decade now, and you can either spend high draft capital or have now additional just monetary capital to throw a lot of money at a big time player at either the other edge spot or back on the interior of the defensive line. This allows you to do that. This doesn't hinder you from making any of those moves. So while Karlaftis might not be a difference maker, and he's kind of in that soup between edge 28 and edge 45, which is still valuable in the NFL and in all 22, then that's fine. You think maybe he can grow into better than that, maybe work his way into like edge 20, perhaps, maybe that's a little bit optimistic, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. They see him in the building every day. We don't. And he came into the league as a young player, kind of raw as well. It's fine. It gives you peace of mind. You can sleep at night, and it doesn't prevent you from throwing more resources at the position on a broader scale when you really need to, once your true anchor and superstar on that side of the ball is out the door in Chris Jones, whenever that day comes. So I like it for the Chiefs. I don't think it really impacts you too much in all 22. I think maybe in all 22, this is one of those deals where I could see if you want to kind of sell the news and sell a bit high here, because you are thinking when Chris Jones is gone, maybe that impacts Karlaftis as well, and you don't want to be holding the bag on that, then by all means, maybe float him out there for some trade deals. But I think it's fine for the Chiefs, and it's fine for you in all 22 either way. I think you're being way too hard on the kid, and he's done nothing to you. I think he's fine.
He's got a family, dude. I like him. I'm not trying to like ruin this guy's life, but I'm just saying, I'm sitting here today. It's like, if he had a calling card, right? He was a great run defender, which the numbers are saying he's not. I get it, right? But I just don't see that, and I don't see where his kind of calling card is. You're saying, like, I think your viewpoint is do what the Eagles do and sign a guy 2 years too soon instead of 2 years too late, right? Because you get the best deals that way, and the player develops. If you trust your player development, he's going to become a lot better. Sure, but I think my point is, it's just like there's still so much ground to cover to get to where that deal starts to become valuable. And you said you like it for the Chiefs. I think that's the reason I don't like it, right? If you were talking about him on a team like the Jets or the Patriots, where the winning window isn't right now, you're not paying a quarterback big money, then maybe I could kind of buy it. But seeing that the Chiefs have other positions, right? You just paid a guard big money. Maybe that money, but it could have been used to keep the guard you traded away, so that you could have kept your guard duo in place, right? And protect Patrick Mahomes. Like, I think there are other ways they could have used that money that I would have liked a little bit more for this team. But again, maybe they know something we don't. Maybe Karlaftis is showing, major gains this offseason. Maybe year 4 is going to be his year. That all could be the case. I'm excited to find out. I'm done bashing the guy. I like him. Again, I like him. I'm a buy now guy for Karlaftis. I would buy George Karlaftis if somebody was selling. But let's go to the safety position. This is the last guy I got on my list. It's Kerby Joseph. It's another one that's kind of an interesting deal to me. Kerby Joseph becomes the highest paid safety in the NFL for average salary and total value. So $21.5 million a year, surpassing Winfield Jr. on the Bucks at $21 million a year, and the overall value $86 million, again surpassing Winfield Jr. at 84. So we're talking about like a nice chunk of change for Kerby Joseph. We talked about how the safety position is so much lower. Even the top ranked safety is like edge 12, right, in the NFL. So you're not breaking the bank for a safety. But Kerby Joseph, right, last year was the highest graded safety in the NFL, according to PFF, with a 91.3 grade, 92.2 coverage grade, 88.6 tackling grade, really did it all and helped kind of make that defense, that scary unit that we saw. That's my kind of like why I think that's great. Why I don't think that's great is, and again, I was actually a Kerby Joseph guy. Like, I liked Kerby Joseph in the draft. I thought he was a great player. He's a guy I drafted a few times in all 22. Really like him. Saying that, his first 2 years in the NFL, 64 PFF grade, 57.7 PFF grade in year 2, and then last year, 91.3. So we really only do have 1 year of very positive results. Above average results even for Kerby Joseph, which is why I'm saying I kind of have a hard time breaking the bank a year early also, right? That was year 3. He had another year under control. Breaking the bank a year early for a guy like Kerby Joseph to me is interesting, considering how many other guys Detroit has to still pay, right? We're talking about a team that has Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch. We're talking about Jamison Williams.
Gosh, darn it.
Dude, go look up the numbers. Stop bashing Jack Campbell.
Continue.
Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, the list goes on, the amount of good players that this football team has and has to still pay. Do you really want to tie money up with maybe your second best safety on your own team?
Oh my gosh. What a take. Okay. So you said you're a Kerby Joseph guy. You are clearly not a Kerby Joseph guy.
I am a Kerby Joseph guy. I love Kerby Joseph.
And that's no disrespect to Brian Branch. But my concern with Kerby Joseph, it's not the grade in the first 2 years and how he performed. Year 3, if you hit and I liked you coming into the league, I figure that's you becoming the player that you could have always become. My concern with Kerby Joseph is the following. Levi Onwuzurike, torn ACL, out for the 2025 season. Ali McNeil suffered ACL injury very late in 2024, expected to miss the first several months, if not the entire 2025 season. Malcolm Rodriguez recovering from an ACL injury as well, returning sometime maybe early in the season. DJ Reader getting up there in age. We all saw what happened with Aiden Hutchinson. That's a nasty injury. Even when Aiden Hutchinson comes back, I'm not sure he's going to be the same guy right away. That kind of compound fracture thing, you don't just, first time you roll on the field, you're the same exact guy. That's not me saying that Aiden Hutchinson's not going to be good. Aiden Hutchinson was a superstar. He was a top 4, 3, maybe even 2 edge rusher in the entire league when he was playing before he got hurt. He was just on fire. You cannot reasonably, you're setting yourself up for disappointment if you expect Aiden Hutchinson to be that guy again. Terrion Arnold left practice earlier today with a lower leg injury. We don't know what that's all about. Maybe we will by the time this is posted here and you're listening to this, but right now Terrion Arnold's also down. So the defense, especially up front, is already gutted as is in front of this guy. And so who's left there to make some noise on the defensive front there? Marcus Davenport. That's the next flag carrier there. If Aiden Hutchinson's not the superstar he was,
Marcus Davenport.
I'm going to bash Marcus Davenport. I had to listen to you on Karlaftis for like 10 minutes, and now I can't come after Marcus Davenport.
But I think you're missing one point that I'm just going to butt in, and then you can finish your rant. Is that they also lose Aaron Glenn, who is a defensive back specialist and is now the head coach of the Jets, right? And instead, they're promoting their linebacker coach Kelvin Shepard to be the defensive coordinator. There's a lot of reasons why maybe this year isn't the same year for Kerby Joseph.
Exactly. Yep. I was going there next. So the personnel, already a question mark, and we're in July. Okay. And it's already much weaker than it was last year. And not only that, but don't forget, they also lose their offensive coordinator. Game script might not be in his favor as well if they're not scoring oodles of points like they were before either, which allowed that defense to kind of pin their ears back and make plays, and that helps generate turnovers and so forth. All of this type of synergy that really helps the safety position in particular, based on what's in front of them and allowing them to play freely, that doesn't look like it's there this year. Now, Detroit may have that magic, and, because they are still a very talented squad with a ton of tough players and everything, and I like the way they kind of go about their business, but a lot of factors that were on the positive side of the ledger for Kerby Joseph and most Lions defenders last year have kind of flipped. So maybe you do sell high on Kerby Joseph this year, or he's 24 years old. Yeah, sure. Keep Kerby Joseph on your all-22 team. It's not like there's a lot of great safeties out there anyway. That's fine. But keep your expectations in check. Don't expect another 90-plus graded season for Kerby Joseph as the safety 1 or safety 2 in the entire NFL this year, because a lot of things are no longer going in his favor, at least in the short term. We'll see when McNeil gets back, and Tyleik Williams has another year under his belt on that front, and Terrion Arnold's entering year 3, perhaps. Maybe 2026 looks a little bit better. But right now, things aren't trending in a positive direction for the Lions on the defensive side, and that impacts Kerby Joseph.
Can I ask you?
And I say that as a Kerby Joseph guy, a true Kerby Joseph guy who drafted him in our league, inaugural league, and then dropped him after
and dropped
years.
him. Yeah, and dropped him. Can I make a crazy kind of prediction? Or
No.
Let me ask you what you think the odds are. What do you think the odds are that the Lions finish last in the division this year?
Oh,
they were 15-2 last year.
No.
Impossible to happen. Impossible.
Yeah, it's too. I mean, yeah, sure. If the starting quarterback also gets hurt, but like, no. You're gonna tell me JJ McCarthy's gonna finish ahead of them in the division? No, stop it. I know the Vikings are really good, but no, stop it.
The Vikings are really good.
I know they are. No,
the Vikings are really good. The Packers are okay. The Bears should be good.
The Bears are definitely not going to finish above the Lions in the division right now. Don't. Okay, JJ McCarthy and Caleb Williams are not going to both finish above the Lions this year.
It's 7-24-25. I'm going to go out there on a ledge and say, I want like 2-1 odds here. Like if you put $10, I'm winning 20, right? Or if I put $10, I'm winning 20. That the Lions are finished the NFC North in last place.
That's horrible. There's got to be caveats though, because like if Jared Goff goes down,
no caveats on that. Are you kidding me?
Why would I do that? Why would
the Bears were 5-12 last year?
Do you remember when you had to buy me Joe's Pizza in New York City? What was the bet again? Because you bet some scrub like Hollywood Brown would have more receiving yards than Amari Cooper or something ridiculous like that.
No.
All I got was some pizza.
That was the bet. But he got hurt. He got hurt like immediately.
No.
And you were the one that were like, oh, yeah, injury clause. And I was like, no injury clause. And then he got hurt.
You're conflating 2 years. I think ever since then, Brown still hasn't had the same amount of receiving yards as Cooper had back in 2021.
Because he keeps getting hurt. Because you can't be 160 pounds, I guess.
Sure, you can. You can absolutely be 160 pounds in this league. I'm trying to think of a player right now. You got freaking guy on the Rams.
The guy on the Rams.
Tutu Atwell. He's fine. He's doing fine.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
real good.
As long as you don't have to cover AJ Brown like freaking what's his face on the Commanders, whatever they're calling themselves these days. Yeah, Emmanuel Forbes. Then you can be 160 pounds. It's fine. We got way off track, but like. That's a horrible prognostication by you. You've had a lot of spicy takes today.
If you wanted, you're about to lose your house, you're failing on your mortgage, right? Your family hasn't eaten in weeks. You have $10 left, and you're trying to take $10 and make it into $1 million. Go put $10 on the Lions, ending last place in the division.
Okay. Sure. Or
hopefully that's nobody listening to this podcast. Because if you're listening to this podcast and you have $10 left and your family is starving, stop listening to the podcast. Go get a job.
You could sign up for All 22 Premium for the first year at $9.99. You have a penny left over, as a matter of fact. So you want to make better use of your money. Sign up at all-22.com. First year premium, you get 2/3 off the price there, $9.99. Tons of premium PFF data. Get to join, start as many leagues as you want, and compete with your buddies. Get them all to join. And and now 16-team leagues on top of it. So you can go real deep into this thing and manage a 53-man roster like a true NFL GM, where the offensive line matters, punters matter, everyone matters here. So let's get
I want to clarify, we are not a gambling site. You cannot gamble to win money on our site. Please do not think that you can.
You make betterment of your money by pure enjoyment. It's just a pure joy of playing All 22 with your buddies, and whatever you do on the side, we know nothing.
All right, Ray. What else you got today?
Dude, that was it. I was very happy and excited to talk positively about Karlaftis and some of these guys, and he just came in here with like a flamethrower. But training camp's in full swing. Hopefully they stop bringing the carts out for like sprained toes and sprained ankles and stuff, because it's
just making everybody have a heart attack.
Yeah, it's terrible. So please use discretion with the carts in training camp. Until then, everybody, enjoy training camp, and All 22 is the bomb. You want to lead us in the outro?
Absolutely. Guys, again, thank you for tuning in. Please give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and X at all22_PFF, and give us a review wherever you're watching or listening to your podcast, and go to all-22.com and sign up and play All 22 today. Have a great rest of your night.